Hello, hello. I am so excited to share with you how I'm going to paint this. I love the background of this, and that's really what I wanted to share with you was how I created this really loose watercolor background, and it works so well with these cards with this stamp. This stamp was the Land and Sea stamp from Blue Night Stamps, but any kind of oceany water type scene that you need, this will work. So what I'm using is my core watercolors. This is my core palette. It is kind of dirty and messy, but that's okay because it's my palette and I enjoy it painting with it, and it's super fun. All right, so this watercolor back scene is a core. The core watercolor has that whoosh factor, and what I like to do is, here's my stamped panel. I did not stamp happy birthday, although I could have, but I like to do that after the fact. And what I like to start with is I almost I get this whole thing wet. It's just easier, but I don't want to spray because I want my brush strokes to see. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, so it's pretty wet. You can see that there's a lot of water to it. Okay, now what I'll do, and I don't always tape down my, is I'm going to start with this cobalt blue. It's in the high chroma palette that Core has, and you get this paint in watercolor tubes. And I don't know why it is not wanting to focus. That's going to drive everyone crazy. Maybe not. Well, okay. I think my autofocus is on and I don't always like that. Okay, so I'm just dabbing in. My brush is full of paint. And you can kind of already see that this is kind of, ooh, I love how it whooshes like that. This is such an easy technique, but it's so fun. It's just wet onto wet. This is what I'm doing, is a wet onto wet. And then I think I'm going to go into I can't decide if I want to do green gold, if I want to just keep it that way. I think I'll use a little bit of ultramarine, just a tiny bit. I don't want to overpower the other blue, but I want it to look very, very much like it's part of the sea. And if you're not sure how color combinations work, take time to play with your colors. And there's a reason why we watercolorists color theory, and we I spend a lot of time on that, and I think the more time you can spend on learning about your colors, the better your paint's going to be. That is really blue. I don't want it that blue. And I'm not worried about the paint getting into this because we're going to go in with darker colors and paint it. So you can kind of see, now if I wanted to, I could add a little bit more. If you get the blooms happening, that's okay because it's watercolor and it's going to whoosh around. And now I can just start adding color wherever I want and get that really pretty background that you are looking for, that you so desperately want. Now this is one way to add. This is a very painting water is easy because you're just adding water to something that's already easy to paint, I guess. Like it's already a natural way to paint, right? So anyways, and I think I'm going to just, I always like to splatter. It's not going to look splattery once it's dried. It's going to look very organic. And I'm going to do that again with some of this cobalt. And okay, this is the messy stage. We got to get to the messy stage before we can get, and then I'll clean my, you can even take like a paper towel if you are, or I don't think I'm going to do a paper towel. I just want to just dry your brush off, and I don't necessarily want. Okay. I'm going to let that dry again. And while I let that dry, I feel, you know, this, we'll see how it goes, but I feel like adding some of that gold metallic. I think that'll add just enough sparkle. Maybe this is for a girl's birthday card. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I got a lot of sentiments that I can use, so we'll see. But I think that'll add. And I just love that granular texture. I don't know if you can kind of see that granulation, especially from the French ultramarine blue. That's looking beautiful. And this is Core watercolor. I really like Core watercolor. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. And real quick, I got some splatter on my actual card that I already made, so I'm going to clean that off a little bit. I don't think the person who I'm going to give it to is going to care much, and she probably will not even notice. Only the artists do. Because okay, we'll try something different. I really love Core also has another pretty color. I love green gold. And since there's already splatters right here, I'm just going to with that, and it'll be part of the painting. I'm okay with that. There. I think that's pretty wet. I love wet and wet techniques. But I am going to blot it a little bit. So it's more like damp. So the water will go places and other times it won't move. I'll show you what I mean. I really like, this is green gold from Core watercolor. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to act like this is like seaweed off in the distance. Look at that. I couldn't have planned that. That's really pretty. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll just add some of that turquoise, that cobalt blue in, and I don't want to mix too much with the green because I really like that. Just gives it a different look. So it doesn't, the last thing I want is for all my paintings to look the same. I have my style, I have my colors that I love. I would hope that someday someone can say, oh, that's a Lisa Christensen card because it's watercolor. Who knows? But I don't necessarily want all my cards to look the same. And I'm just adding water, lots and lots of water. And I want some more blue there. But oh, it's so pretty. And I think I'm going to add a bit of blue here and a bit of blue there. And that is going to mix to be really pretty. I spend a lot of times on my backgrounds because I really think that when you take the time to paint a really good background, the rest of your card really just comes together pretty fast and simple. All right, I don't like how much green that is, so I'm just gonna spread some water and then blot it up because I don't really want it to run on the edge. There. I'm really liking that now. Yeah, it looks a little stripy. That's okay. It won't when we're done with it. But I'm going to need a new paper towel. Yeah. I seem to always just go overboard. Part of me says, let it be. And I think I'm to that point because I'm afraid if I mess with the background too much more, it's not going to look the way I want it to. But I really like that. This has got a variegated wash. And it's a great beginner's technique because you get to play with watercolor, see how it mixes. My hope is that by the end of this, it's going to look more like a kelp forest. But in order to do that, I'm going to need just a little bit more of that blue so it doesn't look yeah. All right. Now I'm going to let it be. It's going to look very, very tropical, I hope. Okay. Now, I think my last one is pretty dry. It's looking really, really beautiful, actually. I really like the background. Now we can start on the stamp itself. Now, I like to go light to dark, and I'm going to take this green gold, and I'm going to start with the green gold because I know that I can always go darker, but I can't go lighter. And my green gold is the lightest. I'm using the lines. I'm just adding color. I'm painting, but I'm really just adding color. I am not thinking about singing the lines either. And I think the more that you are trying to stay in the lines, the more unnatural it's going to look. Like, let watercolor be watercolor. Yeah. And I don't really want to spend all day painting if I don't have to. I am going to add green to this leaf. It'll be a darker green, but I can add green gold as my underpainting. I think that will look just fine. Because then I'll take the ultramarine and that cobalt and I'll paint those in together to get a pretty green. Okay. Now I want to get into, I think I was at the zoo before too many things changed and they just got seahorses, and I live in Iowa, so I can't honestly say I've ever seen a seahorse, but it was like this beautiful light orangey pinky color. I wish I could have like stood there and just take it in, but my son was like, Mom, let's go. But I just love that seahorse. So I'm going to paint this. It's not doing it justice, but anyways, I would not have painted this seahorse this orangey pinky color, but because I just saw a seahorse not too long ago, and I think it's important to observe nature. Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way is always talking about how as artists we have to observe nature. We have to get out and feed our artist soul. And if we don't, we're going to be wishing we had, because that's how we feed our creativity. And so what I used to do every week, I would take myself out on an artist's date, and we would go to the zoo, we would go to the science center. Now I have to do my artist's date at home, and so we'll watch a movie that we haven't watched in a while, or just something silly. Anyways, I'm just coloring in the flower parts of things. But I don't want to add. These flowers are pretty small. If they were a bit bigger, I probably would take my time and really try and do some extra shading. But again, my theory on watercolor cards is don't take a ton of, don't take a ton of time on coloring the stamp. You want the watercolor to show. And right now I'm just loving that right there. So I'll be putting a sentiment up here. I think I will use a the ultramarine, and I'm going to make this coneflower kind of blue. Clean my brush, and then I'm just going to pull down that color so I have a bit of a variety in my petals, just enough. I also don't want to, I really like how this is going, and so I kind of want to just keep this simple. So I'm going to take a brown. I don't remember what this one was called, but that's okay because I'm going to mix it with some of that shimmery gold from Golden too. There, that'll look pretty. And I know that sand dollars are kind of darker. I just want to suggest that it's a sand dollar. I don't necessarily need to paint the whole sand dollar. And I think that's what sets watercolors off from other colorists is we know when to stop. Not really. I have ruined so many paintings from not stopping when I should have. And then I always am kind of crabby afterwards as I just ruined my painting. But no, we do what we can to not do that. Oh, that's beautiful. It's looking really fun. All right, now I'm going to go in. I like this gold color. I've been using it a lot. It's just the gold is from Core Watercolors. It's just been really fun to just play with. And I'm going in, and this is kind of like a glazing effect. It's not really nothing super special, but I'm just glazing over this. Now, if you had any kind of iridescent watercolor, that would work. I am just using, I think I'm going to bring in some of that color to the starfish. I know starfishes are kind of pale, I don't know, orange maybe. That's really too much. There. I just want a little. Just enough to break up the browns. I feel like the browns are, if I did the starfish brown again, I think it would just look not quite right. And our zoo has this really pretty aquarium, and they have starfishes, and starfishes are, I don't know, not pink and orange, but that's okay. And I'll add some of this. Maybe I'll just add some French marine. Just...
I like painting.
Thank you for liking my. Yeah, I like to. I know you can paint if you want.
Mommy, watch you.
Okay, you can watch me.
Well, stop.
Thank you, Harrison. Yeah. So something like that. And now since I put some blue right there, I should probably add some more blue over here. And I'm quite all right with that. My plan, again, is to get in and get out. Not to fuss around the edges.
Mama.
How about you play a game or play with a puzzle? I'll be done in just a second. Okay, so there's that. Let's see, what else was I gonna do? I need a little bit of brown for that cone flower. Cone? I don't know. I call it a cone flower. I think that will add a little bit. And, oh, probably some sandy color right down here. But I'm just going to do gold. Right here. All right. And I think that is going to do it for me right now for that one. And I would do the same thing here. Maybe. I'm always looking at my colors, and I really like how this turned out. It did definitely dry a lot lighter. And so I'm going to take this green and the cobalt that I used in this one, and I'm just going to make a pretty greenish color. And that's the seaweed that I'm going to use. That's way too much green. I just have a clean brush right now, and I'm just going to paint this. There, I really like that. That'll work. Ah, that's really pretty. And again, up here, my best advice when I'm painting is get to know your stamp. Stamp it in your art journal a couple times, paint it, and then you kind of have a blueprint as to how you want to paint it, how you want to create with it. And then that's when a lot of new creativity shows, is when you've done your practice sheets. It's kind of like practicing music. You can't expect your first time going through a piece of music to go very well. You're still trying to figure out how your fingers go and how to add, your notes to where, and then the tempo. Same thing with this. Once I know how to paint this, it's easier to just paint. And I think, I've done my work. I've played with this in my art journal, and it's now it's just fun, and I'm painting for fun. I'm not painting to learn, because I already learned how I wanted to paint this, which is also kind of can be troublesome, because once I've figured out how to paint a stamp, it's hard for me to want to go back and paint a lot more of them. But I do love to go back to my old stamps. It's just, I like the challenge of finding new things to do with my stamps. I remember what I was going to do. I was going to add this green to the flowers, because I don't want the same. And I might only do one side or whatever. There, I like that. That works. I'm going to smooth that out a bit. That's going to drive me nuts. There. Ooh, I really like that. Aren't you glad? I'm really glad that I did that. Okay, now back to the other. I got my greens. I'm really loving the analogous part of it. So if I were to go and kind of decide what side of the color wheel do I want to go on? Do I want to go towards more of the blue side or the yellow side? I think because I've been working with my with the high chroma, I'm going to go on the orange side. Oranges to me reminds me of being tropical, and now I do have to be careful because I don't want blue and orange to mix too much, but I think just a little bit of orange will kind of help the eye just move through the card. And that way you get an idea of if you like orange flowers instead of the pink flowers. And I am going to make this little guy a little more pink. I like that. I did go out of the lines just a tiny bit, and I can fix that by erasing it with clean water. There, that's beautiful. Now I think I'll take that same light pinky orange, and I'm just going to paint real fast this guy. There. Now I can go in with my brown. I'm just going to dot that in because that's pretty bright. Very light brown. I don't really want to add too much. But then wet onto wet, it gives it that really pretty texture. I'm going to have to pull that brown down. There. And I think just to add a little bit more, I'm going to add some brown here. There we go. Oh, beautiful. I like that. That one stroke can make or break a painting. And sometimes you don't know if that stroke is going to work or not, but I think it gives it a lot more depth. So I'll take it. Okay. Now for my iridescent gold, because I can't not have that extra gold. Down on the shoreline, seafloor. Oh, how I wish I lived closer to a beach. That would make my heart happy. We are landlocked. I think the closest beach is 9 hours away in Texas. Maybe it's even 12 hours. Who knows? I have not been there, but those that live by a beach are super, super lucky. All right, I think I'm going to call that good. I'm afraid that if I mess with it anymore, it's just going to look funky, and I don't want to mess with it anymore. So there's two not completely different ways to paint a background, but two fun, easy ways to paint water in a background, and I have a lot of fun with this. So anyways, I hope this has helped you. Learn how to play with watercolor. Don't be afraid of putting color down and seeing if you like it or not. Water is your best friend. You can erase anything with just water and a clean brush. So I hope this is a fun. I hope you have fun painting. That's the main part, is if you're not having fun painting, you're not going to paint much. And I cannot stop painting these days. So I will take that creative energy and run with it and go as far as I can with it. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I can't wait to share some of the other fun things that I have in store. Keep painting.